Hello. Today we're going to talk about Chapter 8, Section 5. The topic is a geologic timescale. It starts on page 286 and ends on 297. My name is Mrs. Kim and I'm here with Mrs. Erling and Mr. Knox. The geologic timescale is a record of the life forms and geologic events in Earth's history. It's kind of like a timeline which shows what has occurred and from when to when. You can see that the geologic timescale has three big chunks of time called eras. We have the Paleozoic era, which is the oldest. Then after that is the Mesozoic era. Then currently we are in the Cenozoic era and it's still going on today. And you can see that each era is divided into smaller sections called periods. Now, before the three eras occurred, early Earth is called the Precambrian time. Pre means before. And Earth formed 4.6 billion years ago, according to a scientist. And early Earth was not what you would expect. It wasn't pretty with birds chirping and bunnies running around in the grass. It was pretty chaotic. There were volcanoes erupting, there was no oxygen, lots of storms, and it was pretty crazy. And also because there was no oxygen, there were no life forms. Also, Precambrian time takes up most of Earth's history. 88% of the 4.6 billion years was Precambrian time. It was when Earth was getting ready for life to start and develop. If you think of the whole Earth history as 24 hours, Precambrian time pretty much takes up from midnight until 9 p.m. So that's about 21 hours. The earliest organisms on Earth were similar to bacteria. They were called cyanobacteria, and they developed in the ocean, and they were green, just like plant cells, and they were able to do photosynthesis, and they started to slowly develop oxygen, make oxygen, and it built up the ozone layer and made it safe for organisms to go on land.
All right, the next era is the Paleozoic era, and it happened between 544 million years ago to 245 million years ago. This is called a Cambrian explosion. So at the beginning of the Paleozoic era, there was many different types of organisms that formed and that evolved. At the beginning of this era, all animals lived in the sea, and they were invertebrates, meaning that they didn't have a backbone. So these would be animals like sponges, snails, clams, and worms. Later in the Paleozoic era, vertebrates formed. Vertebrates are animals with a backbone. The first vertebrates were jawless fishes, meaning they did not have a jawbone, but they still had a mouth. First, amphibians and reptiles evolved and formed as life moved from the ocean to land. So amphibians are animals that can survive in both the ocean or a water environment and on land. And during this time, land plants evolved and tropical forests developed. Earth's temperature was warmer, and as we approached the end of the Paleozoic era, there was a mass extinction of species. So scientists, they don't know why exactly, but we do know that as many as 90% of all the species alive during this time died off. So think about this question up on your screen right now. Summarize what Earth was like during the Paleozoic era. Pause, think about it. Write down your answer. So hopefully you paused and you thought about what life was like during the Paleozoic era, and you might have come up with an answer that Earth was different depending on what part of the Paleozoic era. So at the beginning of the era, we had an explosion of different species evolving. Life moved from just the ocean to land. We had the development of tropical rainforests, and then of course at the end, many of these species became extinct and were no longer around, which brings us to the Mesozoic era.
As Miss Erling said, at the end of each era, it's usually marked by a mass extinction. And at the end of the Paleozoic era, there was a mass extinction. It was so massive, scientists believe that 90 to 95% of all life died out. Only a small little bit remained. Now that small little bit turned into the dinosaurs that we know of in the Mesozoic era. Scientists don't know what caused this mass extinction at the end of the Paleozoic era, but it was actually good for the dinosaurs. And the Mesozoic era is the age of dinosaurs. And if you've ever seen Jurassic Park, the movie Jurassic Park, that is what we are talking about. So sometimes the Mesozoic era is actually called the age of reptiles because of the dinosaurs ruled the earth. Later on in the Mesozoic era, though, mammals evolved, small mouse-like mammals. There was also birds, trees, flowering plants also evolved during the Mesozoic era, but it's mainly known for the dinosaurs. And how do scientists know this? Again, scientists look at the fossil record. This is how scientists know mass extinctions have occurred, as well as what life lived during that time. So at the end of the Paleozoic era, they saw all these different organisms, and then within a short amount of time, these organisms disappeared from the fossil record, so that's how they know a mass extinction occurred. Now, at the end of the Mesozoic era, scientists theorized that there was a meteorite called the KT extinction. The meteorite landed somewhere in the Mexico peninsula there, and it caused a mass extinction. The reptiles were not able to survive, so the dinosaurs died out, but that's a good thing for the mammals because the mammals were able to survive. And at that mass extinction, that's the transition between the Mesozoic era and the Cenozoic era. If you can imagine the Cenozoic era, this is often called the Age of Mammals. Ice Age, the movie Ice Age, think about that. Caveman, woolly mammoths, things like that, that's the Cenozoic era. And not only did different animals evolve, but also plants as well. So you have the three different eras. You have the Paleozoic, mainly life on the ocean. You have the Mesozoic, think of dinosaurs. And then you have the Cenozoic era, if you think of mammals and the Ice Age. So those are the three different eras.
One thing to mention, movies like the Flintstones, you can say that it's totally untrue because why? Humans and mammals, reptiles, dinosaurs did not live in the same era, and so you would say, oh, that's totally untrue. Thank you for watching.